standards they learn. I'm sure Blue Bossa would be a common answer. In today's video lesson, I'm going to share with you my 3-step approach to soloing over the changes of Blue Bossa. It's a really popular one for people new to jazz because it's an easy 16-bar form with relatively easy chords to solo over. I'm going to share with you 3 ways to solo over this tune from beginner to intermediate ideas. Just to recap from my previous video, for soloing over this tune, all of it is in C minor apart from 4 bars, and that's the 3rd line where it goes 2-5-1 in D flat major, E flat minor, A flat 7, D flat major. Our first way of playing over the chord changes is with just pentatonic scales. So up on the screen now we have the chords and the pentatonics we're going to use as they change. So over C minor 7 we're going to use C minor pentatonic, over F minor 7 we're going to use F minor pentatonic, over D minor 7 flat 5 we're going to stay on F minor pentatonic, for G7 we're going to go to A flat minor pentatonic, and then back to C minor pentatonic for when we return to the 1 chord. 3rd line of the song in D flat major, we could use B flat minor pentatonic. That is because B flat minor is the relative minor of D flat major, so you could use D flat major pentatonic if you want to think of it as that. And then for the final line we're going back to F minor pentatonic, A flat minor pentatonic, and then finally C minor pentatonic. So we're using the same scale type for every chord, which does make your life a little bit easier. This is soloing over the changes using those pentatonics. You could start by just simply running the scales as they change. So C minor pentatonic, F, F again, A flat, C, B flat minor, F minor, A flat minor, C minor. So the first time I played through I was just trying to create sort of melodies with those pentatonic scales. So, you know, when it's C I was in C minor pentatonic, then F minor, stay on F minor, A flat minor, C minor, B flat minor. You know, you can run through them. You can, you know, you start off with just playing the scales like F, F again, A flat, C, B flat, and so forth, you know, just to get an idea of hearing those chords, because you can hear the changes then when I play the chords. You know, I'm not playing, you know, very melodically obviously, but I'm just running the scales to get to grips with where they fit with the chord changes. Now, once, you know, you try and craft melodies, say if you're over the C minor, like you know, that sort of things you can hear, things you can sing, and then try and form melodies each time, you know, you change to a new scale. But obviously, you know, you do still want to try to target notes, and it can be as simple as, right, when it's on C I'm going to start on a C, when it's on F I'm going to start on an F, that kind of thing, you know, which, so like starting on a C, starting on F now. That type of thing can really make the listener hear that you're following the chords. So it can just start with some simple pentatonics. Yes, we're having to move them around a few times, but you're probably already familiar with the scale shapes of that chord, or certainly at least the first shape of the pentatonic. The pentatonic gets a tendency to get a bit of a hard time from some jazzers, almost like it's, you know, it's not relevant, that it's not complicated enough, but we can create great things with it, and don't be put off by what other people might say about it. It should be a really important part of every soloist's toolkit, and it's perfect for up-tempo songs where you have less time to think. As ever, try to create melodies and use rhythm and motifs and rests and technique to bring it out beyond, you know, we might start with stuff like just as the C minor chord's going, but, you know, you could, you know, don't start on 1, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So moving on to step 2, 7-note scales, and I'm going to try not to let this get too complicated because it can quickly if we're not careful, and you know, this standard really is is great for people just to get started out. So we're going to keep it as simple as possible. We're going to use 3 scales which will help you get through this. We're going to use the C Aeolian scale, also known as the C natural minor scale, the C harmonic minor scale, and the D flat major scale. And if I put the chords across the screen with some annotations, you'll see what I want you to try to do. Rather than a chord scale approach where you're trying to find a scale to fit every chord, what we're trying to do here is group chords by tonality. So like going, okay, that whole bit's in C minor, so we can use C minor, rather than thinking, you know, we could use Dorian there and Mixolydian there, that type of thinking. So it's a bit simpler. So the scales we're going to use: C Aeolian, which is C, D, E, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. Now we're going to use that over C minor 7 and F minor 7. The next scale we've got is C harmonic minor, which is 1 note different, so it's got a raised 7th of B instead of a B flat. So C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B, C. That raised 7th, the leading tone, the B to the C. We need that for the minor 2-5-1, the D minor 7 flat 5 G7 bit. So wherever we've got D minor 7 flat 5 to G7 and back to C minor, we could use C harmonic minor. And we need that B because it's the major third of G7, or G7 sharp 5 as we're using in this song. So we've got, if I run through the chords, over C minor we're going to use C Aeolian, over F minor we're going to use C Aeolian, and then over this next section we're going to use C harmonic minor. For the next bit, the 2-5-1 and D flat, we can just use the D flat major scale over all of it. So for those 3 chords, which is D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D flat. So that will work over that entire line. The final line of the song, we go back to D minor 7 flat 5, G7, C minor, so we can use the C harmonic minor. So we've got our 3 scales there, and you could find them in 1 octave, you know, or 1 area of the guitar maybe, if that's easier, so probably up here. That would be the Aeolian, or the harmonic minor would be, and the D flat major scale. So let's hear what those scales sound like over this tune. 3 scales really isn't too much to get your head around, and yes, I am trying to follow the chord tones, which is what we're going to get onto my part 3. So what I would do is I'd work on my 2 approaches there, which is using pentatonics, maybe adding in the blues note as well if you like as well, that could work quite well, but also then moving on to using those 3 7-note scales to find your way around. Now, what you'll be missing possibly is hitting the chord tones as the chords change, and that's a very important part of being a competent soloist. Now, this next way I'd approach is just by playing the chord tones over the tune. And this is going to sound a bit exercise-like, but you need to get drilled on chord tones to be able to find them in your solos within those scales. And, you know, for some people, chord tones take preference over scales any day of the week. I'm very much, I like taking bits from different approaches and not necessarily ruling out one way or another. I think there's a whole lot of different things we can learn from each approach and sort of bring together. So if I was outlining the progression, what I want to do is be able to play 8th note arpeggios over the chords as they change. So let's use the chord tones just ascending each arpeggio. You should be able to hear the changes obviously as I play without any backing here. So C minor, F, D minor 7 flat 5, G7, C minor 7, E flat minor 7, A flat 7, D flat major 7, D minor 7 flat 5, G7, C minor 7, D minor 7 flat 5, G7, half a bar each, just like that. And that obviously is very much an exercise, and I still think there's some worth definitely in doing that just to get comfortable where things fall. The next phase would be to use arpeggios but try to link them. So when you finish on whatever note you're on, you try to go to the nearest note of the next chord. And that's an important thing to be able to do, that you then hopefully, you know, combine those sort of 3 different approaches and bring those ideas together, trying to use the chord tones mixed with the scales, trying to target those chord tones as the chords change. So, you know, when it changes to F, say in bar 3, trying to land on an F or another note from F, so, you know, A flat, C or E flat, but third's always good to land on. So there was 2 bars of C minor, I went da, 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 into the A flat, you know, sort of led into it and landed on the A flat on what would be beat 1 of the F minor 7, and it's signaling the chord change. It's a strong indicator of the harmony. Those are my 3 different approaches you could take to playing over Blue Bossa. I would start with them independently first, and then you can play around with mixing those different ideas up. Other next steps could be listening to lots of versions of the song to see how other soloists treat it, and you can try and imitate what they're doing. Lots of listening will also help you maybe absorb some ideas for phrasing, but also how to construct a solo with a beginning, middle and end. If you'd like to check out another Latin jazz standard lesson by myself, then I'll put on the screen a link to my video on the standard Black Orpheus. If you don't already, then please consider subscribing, and remember, always practice with purpose. See you again next time.